The school committee meeting is now called to order. Could we please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a reminder that tonight's meeting is being televised and it's being taped for cable access. Before we get started, I would like to welcome back to the table Mr. Tim Doyle as the newest member of the school committee. Welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And now I would like to open the floor for nominations for school committee chair.
I would like to nominate Mrs. Susie Cleary as school committee chair.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And now, Mrs. Cleary, would you like to name your vice chair?
Yes, I would like to name Tim Doyle as my vice chair. And
Accepted.
excellent. And I just want to say thank you for your confidence in me. I certainly have big shoes to fill following Dorothy and Chris, but I look forward to the new role and grateful for the opportunity to work with Jane, as well as help lead such a strong committee. So here we go.
Here we go.
All right. So the first item on the agenda, well, the second item is the student advisory report.
And oh, good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Grace Lehman, and I'm representing Linfield High School tonight as Student Council President. Linfield High School has been continuing to excel in academics, athletics, and extracurricular activities this year, and I'm happy to share them with you. Just last week, LHS ended third quarter on a very strong note. Report cards have been sent out, and we are moving into the final quarter of the year. We are looking to continue our success to the end of the year. During fourth quarter, the sophomores will take the math portion of their MCAS. Along with MCAS, AP tests will be administered to anyone enrolled in AP courses. Also, during the month of March, NHS ran a canned food drive. The drive was extremely successful. Not only did the students collect an abundance of cans, but the staff added $1,400 to the donation. The cans and the donations will be brought to Haven for Hunger in Peabody. We are very proud of our students and excited to see so many reaching out for those in need. On Saturday, the LHS band left for their trip to Chicago. They have been touring the city and were able to perform at the Willis Tower. The groups that performed were string, brass, percussion, and rock. They were also able to listen to numerous jazz groups and other professional groups. So far, spring sports have been going terrific despite the limited conditions due to weather. The boys lacrosse team had a 7-1 win over Manchester Essex at the stadium. In addition, the girls lacrosse team traveled to Maine this weekend to compete in a 2-day tournament and did very well. The baseball and softball teams have had some trouble finding fields in good condition, but they've been working hard regardless. Both the girls and boys track teams have been practicing hard to prepare for their first meet this Wednesday, April 15th. We wish all of our athletes the best of luck as they continue on in their season. As the year comes to a close, we are pushing all of LHS to finish fourth quarter on a strong note. We are looking forward to the fun activities planned for seniors, as well as warm weather. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any? Thank you, Grace. The next item on the agenda are the minutes presented, the minutes from the meeting on March 24th. Approval of those. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes from the regular meeting, March 24th, 2015.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, they're approved. And next is a glimpse into the classroom for social studies. Jane, you want to tell us who all is here?
So we have a lot of people here tonight for Glimpse into the Classroom. The three department heads are Maureen Fennessy from the elementary level, and Mike Ween is stepping in for Kate Robertson as she is on her maternity leave from the middle school, and Mike Boulay is here from the high school. Maureen is going to do the introduction, and then she'll turn it over to the students.
Hi, good evening. We're happy to be here tonight to share a glimpse in the classroom for social studies. And social studies is the neglected framework that we often talk about a lot of times at our curriculum meetings. But what has happened with at the elementary level anyway, with the adoption of the Common Core standards, the amount of information text that's required for students to be reading, we're seeing more social studies sprinkled throughout the entire day for our students. So we may not have a daily designated social studies time, but those kinds of conversations about the world around them and meeting the standards as they're outlined are being addressed. The standards for social studies haven't been revisited since 2003. So this is really at the state level. We've been waiting for guidance, and it's often pushed till next fall. And with the latest developments with the ELA, math, science, and other testing, my thoughts are social studies is still going to be the last one to come around. But it's a very important subject, and at the middle and high school levels, they are designated periods for social studies with the humanities blocks and, of course, all of our history courses at the high school. So in our presentations this evening, to really show you what social studies looks like at different levels, it was tricky to find one standard that was easily flow throughout because they're not laid out in that manner. But what we did find as we were talking and planning together is that the Common Core standards for writing the Common Core, could you make that whole screen? The Common Core standards for writing for production and distribution of writing, the research piece, and the research and presenting of knowledge is something that you're going to see throughout the students' work that they'll be sharing today. At the elementary level, grade 2 social studies, how the state has it framed is e pluribus unum, from many come one. And the real theme in second grade is American citizenship embraces all kinds of people. And one of the additional substandards is talking about important people in history. So right now, you're going to hear from some students that will share part of their biography units that occurred in second grade classrooms at Summer Street School. It was, when we look at this project, it's something that incorporates lots of standards from many disciplines. This was the students' first long-term assignment, like a long-range assignment that they had to plan over time. They were able to self-select their title for their biography. It included 2 written components, timelines and facts. You will see some projected timelines behind the students as they present this evening. And you're going to see a real highlight from our presentation day that happened. So we have a student representing each second grade classroom at Summer Street School. So I would like to welcome up to the table Charlie Morgan, Ella Heyman. We have Tyler Adamo and Kayla George. Come on up. This way. Charlie. Nope, that's right.
I was born on January 17, 1706, Milk Street, Boston, Massachusetts. I had a part of writing the Declaration of Independence and Constitution of the United States of America. I had a big idea to put a kite with a wire point and a key in the air. I felt the lightning shock and proved that lightning is the same as electricity. In 1776, I was sent to France to convince them to help us fight England in the Revolutionary War. I published an almanac called Poor Richard's Almanac that was popular for 25 years. It included helpful hints and funny jokes. Who am I?
I think you're Benjamin Franklin.
Yes.
Nice job, Mrs. Presser.
So there's going to be a quiz. Cute as she. Oh, so cute.
Thank you.
God, there's a cheat sheet.
I
I was born in Cairo, Georgia on January 31st, 1919. I went to college at UCLA and lettered in 4 sports: baseball, football, track, and basketball. I entered the Army in 1945. People said I would have to be kicked out of the Army because I was African American, so finally I quit. Then I joined the Kansas City Monarchs, a baseball league for only African Americans. One day I got to play a real major league game for the Brooklyn Dodgers. I was the first black major leaguer. I was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962. I died on October 11th, 1972 at the age of 53. Who am I?
Jackie Robinson?
Correct.
Thank you.
Lots of people call me Daisy. When I was little, I started the Helpful Hands Club. I sewed clothes for poor children, but I didn't know how to sew. The clothes fell apart. When I was 13, I started boarding school with my sister in Virginia, but I was from Georgia. At my wedding, a piece of rice went into my ear. I could not hear out of that ear. I started a group in 1920 that still exists now. Who am I?
Can you see it?
You founded the Girl Scouts, and your name was Julia Gordon Howe.
Yes.
I was a Girl Scout for many years.
Dorothy's really good at this game.
Dorothy's really good at this game. Thank God Dorothy's on our team.
Hello, everybody. I am Charles Morgan, and now I will present my 5 clues. I lived from 1936 to 1990. I was the most famous and influential puppeteer that has ever lived. I was the creator of the world-famous Muppets. The first official Muppet that I created was Kermit the Frog. I also voiced this puppet. Many babies grew up watching my popular Sesame Street characters, such as Kind-Hearted Big Bird and Lovable Ernie. Now I am going to play The Rainbow Connection, the song that my Kermit made famous.
I know that one. Jim Henson.
Yes.
Nice job. I know my Muppets.
I'm proud of you.
Maybe not Girl Scouts, but I know Muppets.
Do you have any questions?
Can I ask what your favorite part of that assignment was?
Presentation it. Presentating. Well, I forget the word. Showing it.
Right.
Excellent. Very nice.
That was a very challenging assignment. You all did tremendous. I have a really important question. Did you have fun doing it?
Yes.
Great. Excellent.
I can tell it shows. Anyone else? No. Thank you, guys. You did a great job.
All right, well, that's going to be difficult to hold up here. But I'm Mike Ween. I teach 8th grade World History 1. This year in social studies, my students have been working a lot with some very deep questions. How should we be governed? What is human nature all about? Are we good? Are we bad? What is the role of religion in all of this? And ultimately, what does it take for a society to be successful? And we're doing that over the backdrop, of course, of the mass standards. We've examined the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, European feudalism, monarchs, dictators, theocracy, and we're now looking at the Enlightenment, and we're looking at some of the democratic principles that are emerging out of that. So it's a lot of fun. We'll also look at examples from the Middle East as well as Asia later this year. My students tonight, Justin and Julia, are here. Justin Nardella and Julia Henriquez are here to present an assignment that we did that really goes along with the growth of centralized power and its impact on history. So I'm going to turn it over now. Julia, I believe you're first. And the assignment was, it was a short-term assignment where students were forced to make a leadership decision. They were given a current event, which you'll see is all too familiar to us, and they had to act as first as a democratic leader, and then as a Machiavellian leader or as a dictator. And they had to analyze the event and apply their knowledge of leadership to make a democratic decision, and then more of a Machiavellian decision on the same topic. So the results came out great. Justin and Julia were more than happy to be here this evening. So Julia, you want to come on up?
My name is Julia Henriquez, and I have Mr. Ween for 8th grade social studies. These are 3 of our class's essential questions that we have been focusing on this year and that relate to the assignment we are going to share with you this evening. What does it mean to be a great leader? How should people be governed? And what causes people to seek change?
My name is Justin Nardella, and I also have Mr. Ween for 8th grade social studies. Here's a glimpse at what we've been doing related to leadership, government, and our essential questions. This activity had us examine a local current event and act as the mayor of Boston to make some important decisions using different styles of leadership. We had to make one democratic style decision and one Machiavellian style on the same issue. We used multiple levels of Bloom's taxonomy to remember, apply, and evaluate the information in our decisions. We had 3 newspaper articles and 1 video news clip to use as our resources to gain information on the topic. We then had to tweet our decision out to the people.
After doing our research, the next step was to state the problem or remember. And this problem was, due to the extra amount of snow that we have received this winter, issues over space savers for parking spaces in Boston have risen. My democratic decision differed from my Machiavellian style decision by, for my democratic decision, basically, I had my people take a vote, and this included people who also lived around Boston, so that they could decide whether the solution where visitors had to park in parking garages and Bostonians could park on the streets would be the best solution for them. Well, for my Machiavellian style decision, I just made the decision without anybody's consent or approval before I made it official. And after completing the assignment, we reflected upon our work. We were asked what we took away from the assignment that we can add to our developing understanding of what it means to be a great leader. And I talked about how you have to kind of, as a leader, engage with your people and kind of ask them what the solution would be like best for them, because if you do this, then you'll be able to kind of get a better insight on what would be best for your people, which will like evidently make your society a better place.
So I also did an idea. So the recent snowstorms have devastated the city, for parking spaces have diminished. Feuds have erupted throughout the city because of it. So my democratic decision differed from my Machiavellian style decision, because in my democratic decision, the people were allowed to have a vote and have a say, and it was actually the district representatives that voted towards a solution. And in my Machiavellian decision, the leader, which was Mayor Marty Walsh, he actually demanded, and he didn't give the people a choice, and he just suggested that there was a solution. It was his way, and it had to be his way. So it was basically a dictator, and he dictated what the people would do. And so we also had to evaluate how social media technology could help or hurt leaders and citizens in a situation such as this. So what I said was that social media can hurt leaders because it can cause chaos from the people, and the people can question their decisions, but it can also help them because they're able to spread information very quickly. And then social media technology can help the citizens because it allows them to be notified of information quickly, but it can also hurt them because some of them, it may not be what they want to hear, and it can be surprising, and they might just not agree with it, and it can cause also chaos for them. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. You guys have any questions?
I have one question. So in the introduction to this, you let the term Bloom's taxonomy just rolled off your tongue like this is something that you are very familiar with, and I must say that certainly when I was in 8th grade, I would not have known. Is that something that you're familiar with and that you use in social studies and other classes as you're applying it to assignments and so forth?
Yeah, we use it in almost every single class. We look at, especially in social studies, we look at constantly look at every different level of question. Kind of like during class discussions, we'll look at oh, this would be an evaluating question. It's kind of inferred through our discussions. So
thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you very much, Julie and Justin. Obviously, some really good thinking is going into this. Mr. Ween, thank you for bringing the kids in.
Good evening. My name is Mike Boulay. I'm the Social Studies Department Head at Linfield High School. And I'm going to start off by saying social studies is the most important subject at our school, unlike the elementary. Several years ago, when the new framework came out, we split U.S. history into 2 years. 10th grade is U.S. 1 and 11th grade is U.S. 2. So I'm here to introduce Mrs. Jennifer Gogan, who teaches one of our 10th grade U.S. 1 teachers, and she'll take you through her project.
Hi, my name is Jen Gogan. I teach 9th World History and 10th grade US 1. And today I'm going to tell you about a really intriguing project that we've been doing for the last 2 years since we have the one-to-one at the high school, where we're implementing technology with history. So one of the topics that we discuss in great depth in 10th grade is the Constitution. We talk about it as a historical document and how we got to it, and as a living document. So this project that we do, which is called the Constitution Project, is for all 10th graders, and the students dive into a delegate, and they learn everything they can about a delegate that attended the Constitutional Convention. There were 55 there. They're each assigned one by myself, so they don't get to choose, and it's luck of the draw. And they learn not only about the history, the biographical information, but really what becomes challenging for the students is to find out what they thought about each of the topics of debate at the Constitutional Convention, their or his opinion on slavery and representation and other topics that were debated heavily, which comes to what our living document is today. And a lot of these essential questions, Mr. Ween and his students also ask on a daily basis with the government and how we should be governed. So the objective of this project was that students learn, and I actually learned this program at the iPad Summit that I attended a couple years ago, and it's ThingLink. It's also an app, but also a website. And the students do some what we call app smashing, where they use different apps that they can put on ThingLink. And since we have the iPads, which they do it on, it becomes quite a creative project. So I'm going to invite up my students, Silba Patel and Jalen Grabeau, to show you their ThingLinks with their delegates. Okay. Should I put this up here? Okay. One more, okay.
So I was given Robert Morris as my delegate for my history project, and some of the requirements were where our delegates were from. So here I used Google Maps just to show the exact address of my delegate. I also I included a picture, which is just like a plaque commemorating the accomplishments of my delegate. And here I created a Telegami, which is an app where you create an avatar posing as your delegate and you can add in your own voice. All right. Muted. Is it on now? That's it.
The other one. Okay. My name is Silva Patel, and I had James Wilson as my delegate. James Wilson was born in 1742 in Scotland. He attended many universities in Andrews, Glasgow, and Edinburgh. Oh my God. Also for work, he was appointed to the Committee of Correspondence, elected to the Continental Congress, and a member of the Constitutional Convention. Also, following the ratification of the new Constitution, he was directly appealed to Washington and appointed Associate of Justice. His point of view of independence really differed. He thought Parliament had no power whatsoever of the American colonies, and he would not let the Parliament, in which the control of the representation, control him. And to describe his point of view on slavery, I used SoundCloud to say what he...
People used to call me intellectually dishonest but politically shrewd. I argued that the slave trade clause would in fact allow for the end of slavery itself. I stated that the lapse of a few years, Congress will have the power to exterminate slavery from within our borders. People found it hard to understand the statement as my understanding of the slave trade clause. And that's it.
I'm going to call the 3 department heads. Okay. Oh, okay.
Any questions? I'm just curious if this Think Link, is it? Thing Link. Did you guys know about that before the project, or did the project teach you about the technology?
We learned about it right when Ms. Gogan introduced the project to us. So
Okay.
it was an interesting website to make a project on.
The use of technology is just, it's awesome. And it's great to see because of the investment we're making in it, and glad to see you guys are using it so well.
It's nice to see the variety that's happening here. You know, there's so many options that the students are learning for, you know, how they can present material and a project. So impressed. It's good. Thank you very much for coming and sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if we can just have Mike and Maureen come back up to the table for any questions that the members of the school committee might have for you.
Anyone have any questions?
May I?
You may.
I was just thinking, you know, these projects seem so much like they incorporate critical thinking. And I kind of remember the bad old days when social studies was more memorization of, you know, the battles and when they occurred and where they occurred and who fought in them and so forth. Are we getting away from that? So it's really more a study of the issues and so forth?
I think so.
I
At
see
the
the
high
head
school
nodding
level,
vigorously over there.
I think so, at the high school. And I've been teaching a long time. I don't teach history right now, but I taught when that was pretty much chalk and talk, and when I first started, and it's much different now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the impressive thing in all these presentations was that there was that analysis and critical thinking involved in, it wasn't just putting together a report, it was thinking about those essential questions and issues.
At the middle school level, so much of what we do is applying and evaluating and assessing decisions that were made, and really getting the students ready to be the ones making those decisions, whether it's in high school, college, or the working world. So kind of moving away from just dates and facts and names.
Maureen, you had said the social studies curriculum standards haven't been updated since 2003. Is that
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So what are you guys doing as a team to really keep things fresh within the district? I mean, obviously you are doing a lot of the right things, but what are the conversations that are happening, and what are we seeing in terms of passing kids on from elementary school to middle school to high school?
Sure. That's an interesting question. At the elementary level, when the humanities was introduced, I believe, was it 2 years ago? At the middle school, I talked an awful lot with Kate, and what would that look like? What could that look like when we're truly integrating a language arts period of time with a social studies world history kind of time, and be able to merge and link that together. We are seeing the standards actually do call for that level of critical thinking across all disciplines, and even the language arts standards as it's written, the title is also for social studies, science, and technology. As well. So it's much more an integrated piece, but I know even when we gathered the few times to put this presentation together, anytime we can get together and have those cross-grade level discussions, we're realizing how much more we do have in common, whether we're working with 7-year-olds or 17-year-olds, and really thinking about what it is we're asking them to do.
That's great.
I'm actually pretty happy with the frameworks at the high school because they changed it to a 2-year U.S. history, and it's so much better to cover the material and have a chance to do these kinds of projects like Mrs. Gogan was doing. And I think all the 10th grade teachers do this project.
Every single one.
Everyone, they shared it, and they all do it with their kids. So.
Can I say something? So I just want to note that all of these glimpses into the classroom, these are not the best of everything we're doing. What you're seeing tonight and what you've seen every week here is what's happening every day. This is just how we roll now. This is just what the teaching and learning looks like in our classrooms. This isn't a very, a huge special project that you're seeing every time they come to this room. So the face of teaching and learning really has changed drastically. And as you can see, the technology has really enhanced that. And I know that when we talk about what has changed the most, a lot of it is really the engagement and motivation. I mean, if you couldn't see the excitement in all of our students today, from high school all the way down, kids are excited about what they're studying, and they're excited about the tools and the resources that they get to use to study it. So I think that that's really important, and it's just a testament to the phenomenal teaching that's happening in this district from kindergarten all the way through to grade 12.
I'm seeing a lot of really tired
I know, they
second
need to go
graders
home.
in
I
front
know,
of
I
us
get
in the
that, I
front
get
row.
that,
So
yep.
I'll just say, I've said this before when kids have come in. This is really hard, and presenting to a group like this, and I get to wear two hats tonight as a parent and as a school committee member. So I know what went into all of these projects and what goes on behind the scenes, and thank the parents and thank the teachers and all of the administrators who make this and all of these presentations possible.
Yeah, they really are the highlight. They're so fun to watch, and it's great to see the enthusiasm. As Jane said, you can really see that they're enjoying it, and they really are thinking hard about what they're doing and understanding it. So thank you all for preparing for this and coming and showing us what you've been doing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you can go home.
Or you can stay for the next one.
I know, or you can stay if you want. The little ones.
Good job.
So I'm hoping they're out in the hall and they're going to come in. That's pretty good, wasn't it?
That was great.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Oh, this is the
job. Falling asleep at way
You need to log in. Do you need to log in? Are you going to use that?
And now everyone's done.
They were on this our site.
We lived across the street from the first house.
Getting old. It's scary. I was letting my son drive my car today, like in and out of the driveway. That was scary for you.
I had everyone's back on
They're getting old. I feel like they're just this big, And what grade are yours in now?
Jane, are we going to have a glimpse into the classroom for physical education?
We are. It's next.
Awesome.
Physical
Is that?
education's next.
Should we all?
Wear our sneak-
I was going to say, should we all wear
Sneakers that night in gym suits.
Sweatsuits. Physical education.
The next item on the agenda is the Destination Imagination trip, and we're just having a minute. Just give us a minute.
Start humming the Jeopardy tune.
I know.
this to roll, to have to close this to get it to roll with my finger.
I just use my iPad. So. I think. Oh, it's right. Is it? No, you have to activate the touch screen somehow.
April's.
I think it's right at the top,
Right up at the
Janie,
top,
April
Jane.
14th.
Yeah.
All the way up
April
to the top.
14th.
Yeah, go scroll all the way up.
The 27th.
There it is.
There.
Pioneer looks particularly angry in that
Mm.
picture.
Condensed.
Hmm?
Condensed.
So good evening. My name is Carrie Harrison. I want to thank you very much for your time to spend a few minutes with me just praising my husband and I's favorite extracurricular activity and the team's accomplishments this year for the Destination Imagination teams that advanced to the state tournament, and 2 teams have won the honor of being able to advance to the global tournament in Knoxville, Tennessee again this year. Okay.
Okay, so Mary Ellen, you want to click? Oh,
What did I do? If you could just.
Let's go to present, I think.
top right. And then if you just want to click it, it might be easier.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind bearing with me for just a few minutes, because although you probably are all pretty familiar with the Destination Imagination activity, this is the first opportunity that I've had to come before the school board to sort of sing its praises. And what I need to sort of express to you is that it's one of the most unique extracurricular activities that I can think of. My husband and I manage 2 teams, one for each of our daughters, who have participated at the elementary level as well as middle school and up through the high school level. We've been doing this for about 6 years, 7 kids on the middle school team and 5 kids on the high school team. And last year was our first opportunity to advance to the global finals. And what I think is so unique about this particular activity is that it actually blends things that aren't normally blended in the classroom. It blends scientific, technology, engineering, and math skills with the theater arts. And it actually brings together cross-gender interests, cross-discipline interests in ways that are very unique. The kids are tasked with creating scripts, writing, creative writing, but also in problem solving, project management, time management. They're given very open-ended challenges that they need to solve over the course of the school year practically. They are asked to do conflict resolution. Parents aren't really allowed to interfere with any of that. So a lot of the skills that I didn't learn until I entered the workforce, these kids are learning in elementary school, middle school, and high school. So I think it's a fantastic extracurricular. So the top placing teams each year in the regional tournament in Beverly and at the state tournament in WPI earn the honor of representing Massachusetts in the global finals each May. And so we've had your support year over year in sending those teams on. Next slide, please. So just to sing the praises of the 2 teams that were able to go, if you could go back a couple. Wish.
I'm so sorry. Use
That's
the
okay.
arrows, Mary Ellen. The
It's an
arrows on the
advanced
keyboard.
preview. Thank you. So just this one. So the first team that earned the opportunity to advance to the state tournament is a middle school team, a 5th grade team of 7 girls who undertook the Fine Arts Challenge this year, which basically asked the children to create a functional as well as a expressive piece of art. And these children also won what is a very highly regarded award at the regional tournament, the Renaissance Award, which actually recognizes children for their unique approach to design, engineering, and artwork. Next slide, please. The second team is the team that my husband and I coach. This is a high school team in the 11th grade, and they undertook the scientific challenge, which was making waves. And in this challenge, they were asked to do research and present unique approaches to sound wave challenge. And so what they did is they actually drew a connection between seismic waves and sound waves in their solution. They too won a Renaissance Award at the state tournament this year for their unique design of a Rube Goldberg-like sound machine. A little bit about the global finals. About 8,000 students actually represent 1,300 teams competing at the global tournament. This includes international teams. Last year when we visited, we had the opportunity to meet children from all over the world, from China, from South America. And I really think it presents a very unique learning experience in being able to recognize everyone's innovative approach cross cultures. Every student and every team is competing against this with the 5 same core challenges. So they're all asked the same question and asked to explore the answers to these 5 core challenges. There are incredibly creative children and creative use of materials, recyclable materials, and also an application of artistic techniques and writing skills. As I mentioned, they get exposed to cross cultures through the international teams, but also across the different sections of the United States. And the last point, it is truly a celebration of their accomplishments as well. As far as logistics, Destination Imagination, which is an entirely volunteer-run organization, partners with the University of Tennessee at Knoxville to provide the housing arrangements. They either assign all the teams and affiliates to dormitories and hotels in the very local area to the conference center. There are commercial flights that are available into Knoxville itself, Atlanta and Nashville, and DI also offers transportation services, transfer services through their organization. Team managers and parent chaperones will be traveling with the children. I know that we will have 6 adults traveling with our 5 high schoolers, and the middle school parents as well. There will be 7 parents traveling with those children. And we're starting to undertake our fundraising efforts to help defray the cost, which is about $1,200 per student. So because this is my first time before the school committee, I'm really not sure, besides asking for permission for the teams to attend. Certainly there's some school absences, and there may be some fundraising backpack flyers. I believe that were the things that I was asking for your support with.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. All right, thanks for being here.
Harrison.
Harrington, question about the process. Do the students work independent of the teachers for the most part?
They do.
Totally.
They do.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
So so far as logistics of getting approval to go on the trip, I assume that you've passed them by the superintendent, so the dates have been clear, that there's nothing major like testing or anything that would interfere. I have not, but I did check the MCAS schedule, and it does not impact any of the children. Okay. Has anyone given you the form to fill out for a field trip? Usually we get that from Destination Imagination so that we have an idea.
Did you get that?
No.
No,
Okay.
can we make sure that we get that to her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine there's going to be an issue because we've done
Every
this,
year.
but we sort of need to make sure that we've crossed our I's and dotted our T's and followed our policies. So maybe you could work with the superintendent and, find out the different things that need to be in place for us to give our approval. Sure, I'd be happy to. Can I just ask one sort of unrelated to the travel question? Do you happen to know how many, I know this Destination Imagination over the years has grown and grown and grown in Linfield and has a lot of participation. Do you happen to know how many teams and how many students were involved this year? So I believe there were on the order of, I would say, 24 to 26 teams. I think it was down a little bit from previous years, but would certainly hope to encourage continued involvement because, as I say, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for the kids. It most certainly is.
Now, about the insurance issue, we thought we always make sure it's attached to the form, so. Okay.
It's what that they have to fill out.
Okay, okay. So don't feel like that's a, big hurdle, fill out the forms and continue planning as you've been planning, and just make sure you get the forms in. And we've never had a problem with Destination Imagination in the past, so.
And certainly I'm learning as I go along.
Yes, yes. So thank you, and thank you, for your time. I think, with the presentations we've seen in the past, it's certainly a lot of your time as well, regardless of the fact that you don't necessarily guide the students. You do spend a lot of time on this project as well, and I agree that it's a great opportunity for them to see how other students solve the same problem and different strategies different kids take. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Real quick
time.
question. Are there any deadlines that are coming up between now and our next meeting that are going to travel problems or anything that needs to be arranged before the 27th?
Aside from kicking off fundraising efforts, which we probably would want to do after the school vacation,
Okay.
as far as any flyers or anything, I think we would be fine. Thank you.
That's great.
And just run those flyers by my office.
We'll put it on
Okay.
the next meeting
Mhm.
agenda for approval, so
Okay.
take care of it.
Great. Thank you.
The
You're very welcome.
27th, yep. Thank you. All right. Keep forgetting. All right, the next item on the agenda is the redesign of the SAT and PSAT.
Do you know how to get out of that?
Escape.
You're right there. See it? So I invited our two department heads from the high school, Mary Ellen Yanabelli and Mary Lou Sembatakis, to come and talk to you because the SAT and the PSAT are going to be redesigned for the next school year. I sat down with Mary Ellen and she shared with me all of the new things that are going to be happening, and I thought it was absolutely positively amazing, and I knew that you would want to hear, I think, that all the good things that are coming down the road for us for SAT and PSAT. So Mary Ellen and Mary Lou.
Okay, well, thank you for having us here this evening. Mary Lou and I had attended a informational meeting presented by the College Board back in January. It was a regional presentation, and it was based on the objective for redesigning the SAT, as well as some of the parameters for us to follow with the up-and-coming PSAT redesign and SAT redesign. So we thought we would share some of that with you, give you a brief synopsis of that. So the objective, basically, for the new redesign of the SAT is in redesigning all of the assessments, is that they would be looking at deeply informing students about evidence and about essential requirements for college and career readiness. And you're going to hear that quite a bit throughout this presentation, that they're now following that idea that students need to be following standards and developing skills that will follow them through college and career. Following the ELA and the social studies and science framework for this exam, we're looking at evidence-based reading and evidence-based writing, and that's being applied to all of the four core subject areas for the SAT. And this is something that's a little bit different than years past, where it was predominantly on the ELA and the math components. They're looking at all four subject areas and giving us data back on those four subject areas, as well as the math. So.
Okay. In the math test, the redesigned SAT is calling for sustained attention on a core of concepts, skills and understanding, rather than a vast array of math. It was interesting, I read in a recent survey that 90% of high school math teachers felt that students were prepared for college. On the flip side of this, when post-secondary instructors were surveyed, they felt, almost 75% of them felt that students were not prepared for college. So this obviously is a major disconnect between K-12 and higher ed. This disconnect is further evident when we look at the number of students that need to take remediation in college. And again, those courses oftentimes do not count towards their bachelor's at all. So this redesigned SAT is attempting to address that disconnect.
In the next slide, we're just going to focus on each area. So the first area would be English language arts, social studies, and science. So when previously on the SAT, the focus was on an emphasis of studying to take a test, that students were learning tricks or skills in order to be able to succeed or do well or to raise their score each time. The former emphasis was on general reasoning skills. It was on a particular SAT vocabulary that students would practice with and study and just use that for applying to the exam. Where, as in now, with the new exam, the redesigned, they're focusing on these 4 areas for ELA, social studies, and science. Relevant words and context, students will be given passages where they'll have to identify vocabulary in context, looking at root words, prefixes, and suffixes. Command of evidence, they might be asked to identify what the purpose is of a passage, what the argument is that's presented in a passage. They'll be asking to analyze science and social studies passages as well. So it's going into more depth and breadth of the curriculum on the SAT and math.
Previously on the math test, the test consisted of single concept problems, mostly computational. Some were geared at students finding the trick in the problem, so a lot of them were based on the exception versus the rule. There were no questions that a student could not use a calculator. They were designed so that a student would not need a calculator, but students had access throughout the entire test of using a calculator, any graphing calculator. Now, the questions are going to be more grounded in real-world context. There we'll have some parts of the test that will be a scenario that students will be asked a series of questions about this scenario and asked to solve them. And the test will also be divided into a calculator portion and a non-calculator portion. There's also going to be a change in the curriculum, the standards. 35%, as you can see, is going to be Heart of Algebra. So that includes Algebra 1, Algebra 2 topics. It includes patterns, so nothing out of the ordinary. It is foundational algebra. Then followed closely by problem solving and data analysis. So students are asked to show computational and literacy in statistics. And the passport to advanced math is quadratics, polynomials, so more into the Algebra 2 versus Algebra 1. This is the biggest change, the additional topics in math. If you notice, it's only 10%. That includes geometry, and it also includes trigonometry. So there's going to be very little emphasis on those 2 topics. So most of it will be the algebra. Again, the focus is real-world math, math that students are going to need in college, in their careers, whatever they're going to do when they leave high school. So that's the way the test has been redesigned, whether it's math or ELA. It's based on research. So as research changes, this realignment may change.
So we've just talked to you a little bit about the content of the exam. The format has changed a little bit as well. The format being that they have a reading exam, writing and language test, SAT, essay, which is optional now, and then the math test. Prior to this, the SAT essay was required and part of the exam. So we'll address that in a moment. The reading test and the writing and language exams, previously the exam, the SAT exam, would be 3 hours and 45 minutes, which included a 25-minute essay that the students had to complete. Now the redesigned SAT will be a 3-hour SAT exam, which will be reading, writing and language, and mathematics, and then a 50-minute essay, which will be optional. Now, the College Board identified that there are a number of colleges already that are presenting that they would like students to complete the essay, the 50-minute essay. So students would sit for the 3-hour exam and then the 50-minute essay. They can opt to take the optional essay at a different time. So for example, if they apply to colleges and they're not sure if those colleges will accept the essay or not, they might take the essay at a later date. What the College Board did present was that the students cannot, they could come at a later time and take the essay separately, but they would still have to pay for the whole exam, the 3-hour exam and the essay. So they recommended that students take the essay as well. So what we would be seeing that will be different for this is that students will be given complexity of text. So similar to what we're seeing with the Common Core, we're aligned with the Common Core. The exam is not aligned with the Common Core, but it'll be using texts that are based on that as well. They'll be using, as we said before, the vocabulary and context, and asking students to use standard English conventions, but it will be within the text as well. The SAT essay will be redesigned a little bit differently, where they'll be asked to read a number of different articles or passages, and then they'll have to present an argument and use cite evidence from these passages in their 50-minute essay. The math exam,
Okay,
the differences with that?
Yep, the math exam will include a calculator and non-calculator part, as I mentioned earlier. The non-calculator part will consist of 20 questions, 25 minutes in length, and the calculator part will be 37 questions, 55 minutes in length, for a total of 80 minutes on the math end. The number of questions is also released by the College Board, so there are no surprises. They're going to follow the percentage that was outlined earlier with the algebra and the data analysis and things like that. So they're trying to be very transparent, so no tricks. You know exactly what the material is going to be. So there's no question of, I don't know if this is on it, or this is going to be a little tricky. So again, transparency is a concern that was mentioned to us at this workshop that we attended. The test questions will include both multiple choice and student-produced responses, so that has been the norm as well. Again, different this time is that there will be item sets that will allow more than one question per given scenario. And the applications will be much richer. They will be career oriented, science, social studies, all of those are included. New this year as well is there was only a math score and an ELA score or an English score given in the past. Now there'll also be some sub-scores. So there'll be a sub-score in science, and there'll also be a sub-score in history and social studies. Within the sub-scores, there will be a math component, and that math component will count 15% of that sub-score. So that may include anything from reading graphs to analyzing charts, or, reading out a passage and determining the important, information that relates to math. So again, we're now grounding it in a rich application and something that's just not stark by itself. Yeah.
And the next slide is just basically now looking at this new data that we'll be receiving, as Mary Lou had just mentioned, with the 4 subject areas. So we anticipate that when we receive the data from the College Board, that we will be able to take this data and disseminate it with the 4 department chairs and be able to use this during department meetings and hopefully in professional development time, and be able to identify specific areas of strengths and weaknesses within the courses, and be able to apply this to instruction more specifically. This is something that the College Board has identified that we'll have with the PSAT results as well as with the SAT results. So that's something new, because previously we had just been given more specific data for the PSAT, not the SAT. So now we'll have a balance of the two.
In addition to all of these changes, new this fall, College Board is only offering the PSAT on 2 Wednesdays, and we've opted to have all of our sophomores and juniors take it on Wednesday, October 14th, during the school day. It will give us an opportunity to have more data, so we can look at the sophomores and we can look at the juniors and look at the results after they come in, and identify student weaknesses or identify areas we need to develop a bit more. And also the fact that the PSAT is going to be well aligned to the SAT, we now can have a comparison, a before, after, if you will.
Thank you. And then, as well, new this year, there's been a partnership between the College Board and Khan Academy. Many of you might know that the Khan Academy has great models of instruction that are web-based. So we will have this offered to us free through the College Board and Khan Academy partnership as a means of identifying like an SAT study plan for students who have taken the PSAT. It'll give us some data back with us and be able to have students work on remediation within certain areas as well. So we're looking forward to those materials being offered to us. Okay, and so just any questions, thoughts, or concerns that you might have.
I have one. When you guys opened up, why is the SAT changing the format? Because the last one was like, what, 7 years ago? They added like a third component.
So you addressed first the idea of the percentages that we had seen with the
Right.
discrepancy.
They've been doing, the College Board has been doing research on college readiness, career readiness, and this is the reason for the redesign. They believe that College Board, higher ed professors believe that students are not ready, whether it's math or English or science or history. And so that's the purpose of the redesign, to get it more aligned with the curriculum, but not just, it's going to be more depth rather than breadth. So they want to address areas that they think are important in college, important in a career. Maybe a student doesn't need to remember a volume formula for a pyramid, but maybe they need to be able to look at a word problem and analyze it and find out what the information is and what's the goal of the problem. So I think that's the strategy.
Then the second part, the second tier to that they explained to us was that, because for Linfield, we feel very confident that students are college and career ready when they go to college, or they choose their careers. But the second piece too was to really level the playing field for opportunity for students, because the College Board they really weren't pleased with the amount of students who felt that they needed to go out and to participate in programs to prepare them to take this test. They felt that it was just looking at the reasoning of the test, looking at almost like, as we mentioned before, a little tricks or strategies to take this one-time exam, or a couple of times they would take it again and again to raise their score. And they wanted to get more of a measure of the students' ability to apply the strategies to real-world problems. So that was another reason that they explained to us that was the reason for redesigning the exam. And the essay more so too, because they felt that students it wasn't giving them more of a measure of their writing ability and reasoning ability as well.
And I just have one follow-up, and it actually relates back to the presentations that started tonight's meeting. Is the drive to get students to be better critical thinkers? And it seems like that's woven, and now it's gone up to the SAT, and I'm sure maybe it's coming down from colleges and employers.
Yes, it is. I mean, we always say, read, write, respond. And so getting students to become better readers, writers, and responding to. Right. And they keep on going back to that real world problems. The idea of, once they go out into the world, taking, like you mentioned, with the, what was that called? the trigonometry or
the geometry?
You just mentioned a
The volume?
Volume table, which I couldn't.
She's ELA. Don't hold it against her.
That's why you make a great pair.
But I could write an essay in 25 minutes. So, but the idea that how to apply that, it's not just memorizing that, and how to be able to approach a problem from different angles, because as we know, students will solve. They'll approach a problem and solve it different ways, and that's what we want them to be doing.
It also sounds like from this presentation, you guys are pretty confident that the curriculum is pretty much aligned with what they're going to be asking. And as much as we never like to wait and see, it's going to be a wait and let it run its course and see and react. Is that fair? Is that fair, or are we doing things within the curriculum to prepare for this?
Yes, we are. We're actually very excited about one of the areas that we've been able to work on through the curriculum renewal cycle, starting with when we started with the ELA program maybe 2 years ago now. One area we focused on was vocabulary, and we started looking at other districts, and we came up with an in-house, we're piloting this year an in-house vocabulary program, and it's context-based. And so it's not just memorizing vocabulary words anymore. It's looking at, as I said, the roots, prefixes and suffixes. So we're excited about that. That's one small piece of it. Yeah, but that's just one small piece of it. And we're doing that in other areas as well. So it felt good. It actually, going to this presentation, it was one of those pieces where I felt like we were already ahead of the game with this. It didn't feel like we were running behind and catching up at all. So, and we've been working with aligning the frameworks to the curriculum. So this is not going to be something that's surprising to us.
No, I don't think so. And even in the math, we haven't met formally, but I've met with Christina Noce and Katie Ambrose a couple of times already. We're going to meet again in an effort to go through the curriculum taught in math from kindergarten through high school. It seems that more and more of the geometry, let's say, for example, since we started talking about that, is being taught earlier on. So I had a couple of thoughts about that in terms of the freshmen coming in. Now they have a full year of geometry. I thought that after talking to them and going through the curriculum and seeing where we're overlapping, I would like to overlap more, and then as freshmen, give them a little bit more of an algebra review, so when they hit Algebra 2, they don't need to review as much, they hit the ground running. And so we're kind of addressing it in a way through the curriculum right now without waiting to see what happens.
That's great.
Can I assume that the PSAT changes first? And then
Yes,
the SAT
yes.
changes so that they get to practice on the format of the test that they'll already take, that they'll finally take.
The redesigned PSAT will be this fall, and then next spring, 2016, will be the redesigned SAT. So it will follow soon after.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a similar question as well, because it sounds like great changes are being made and they're testing the appropriate thing, and I love the idea that they're sharing the data with you now. I remember hearing that in a previous presentation, that you really kind of were going into it blind, not knowing where the gaps might be. So I'm happy to hear that. I guess my question, similar to Dorothy, is that, it sounds like our kids are going to be set up for success. They're testing what it is you guys are teaching and focusing on. But with a change in a test, is there any kind of concern about these students who have learned all the tricks and learned all kind of the strategies for taking the SAT, and now all of a sudden they're going to be handed a test that's different than, kind of what they've been exposed to? So the PSAT will start first.
Yes.
And like the
And so-
senior, or the students going into their senior year right now, are they at a deficit of any sort, or?
They're not affected at all. As far as this coming year, sophomores, it's perfect for them. They'll take it in the fall, and then they'll take the newly designed SAT in the spring. The juniors have a choice. If the juniors have already taken the SAT and they're happy with it, they're done. If they choose to take the newly designed SAT, they can make that choice, then they will have practiced. If they choose not to, so if they take it, I believe it's March that they said it was gonna come out. If they choose to take the SAT, let's say in November, then it's the old SAT. So they do have that choice, and we've been told that colleges are going to have some sort of system for a comparison of the two.
Okay. Good. And the Khan Academy, now, are those tutorials, are they available like just when the students are in the school, or is that something they can do from home? And is it free to everyone, or do they have to have a password, or?
Free to
Just-
anyone.
Okay.
So it's what students can actually go in and set up, parents can go in and set up an account. It's free to anyone. It's web-based, and it will track. So even as a parent, you could go in and track to see how your child is doing. There are all topic areas.
Right.
If you
Yeah,
go
it's a
in-
great resource.
Yes.
The way you said it, I wasn't sure if it was a school-based thing or if it was just,
No,
to
just something
anyone.
the
That's
College
great.
Board is offering with Khan Academy.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Parents should know that out there.
Yes.
Paying for those big tuitions to take the classes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just kind of a big picture observation. We glimpsed into the social studies classrooms, and in the past, tonight and in the past, we've glimpsed into ELA and science. And we're seeing a reoccurring theme in terms of and we mentioned Bloom's taxonomy and the higher order thinking skills. We're seeing that focus, K to 12, in terms of stretching kids beyond knowledge and comprehension and into those upper levels of cognition, evaluation, and synthesis and analysis. So I'm just so confident that these skills and the knowledge, it's cumulative, it's sequential, and it's embedded K to 12. So I think they're going to be more than adequately prepared for the SATs and the MCAS as well. So thank you.
And just actually, and this is actually more for you, Jane. I think similar to what Sal is saying, this gives me great confidence in our students being academically prepared. I think there's another side of this, which is it has potential to wreak havoc on the college process and the guidance process. So I think if we can get someone from guidance in here to one of the meetings and before the end of the year, just to hear the plan for implementing this into the college process next year.
In what way do you see it wreaking havoc?
I mean, we're choosing, but you have students who are going to be able to choose between old SAT, new SAT. What's it going to mean for colleges? How are they looking at it?
I think probably Mary Ellen can answer that question for you.
It's not, but it's more, so a student who's a junior right now, okay, they'll take the old SAT, which is still being offered now. And then in the fall, they'll have the opportunity. Sometimes what juniors will do is they're not pleased with their scores. They feel they could go a little bit higher. So they'll take it in the fall. That will still be all old SAT. So that's the juniors. Our sophomores, as juniors, will take the redesigned PSAT this fall.
Okay.
And then take the redesigned SAT in the spring.
Okay.
So they're fine. They're all, the College Board has done the dynamics to be able to do that, to present it. There might be that situation where a current sophomore, sometimes students take the SAT on their own, or they take it ahead of time. So they may have taken the old version of it, and they may have, the scenario you gave was they may have done so well, and then they would take the redesigned one later. So it's going to be a different format, obviously, as we presented. So they should be fine with that.
The only thing that guidance passes along is the number,
Okay.
right? So I don't see that being a stumbling block for them at all.
Okay.
That'll all be part of, when you look at that college search process, the colleges usually set out what their typical SAT scores are.
Yep.
So they will, probably
good
for
point.
that year or two transition,
calibrate.
you'll
Yes.
put out old
Yep.
SAT
That's a good point.
or
Have to
new
calibrate.
SAT.
Okay.
So you'll be able to compare, regardless of what test you took, you'll be able to compare your scores with what their typical acceptance score is. So it shouldn't really affect us at all from that standpoint.
Okay.
Anyone else? Right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And our next item is the handbook presentations.
You can, it's in there. Oh, no, we don't need it. You can shut it down. You can shut it down. So for the handbooks tonight, we decided to have Kevin Sear from the high school go first, followed by Ricky Shanklin from the middle school, Brian Bemis from the elementary school, and then Kara Mora for the preschool. So there's a lot of redundancy in what has been added to the handbooks this year. So Kevin and Ricky are going to actually cover a lot of that. So actually Brian's and Carol's are probably very quick because they're going to go over the bigger things that have changed in terms of the student bullying law and whatnot. So Kevin, welcome.
Good evening.
Say it again.
Are we done with the projector?
Yeah, do you want me to move it?
Yeah, can we just? Thanks, Jen.
All right, good evening. Thanks for having me this evening. Hard to believe it's that time of year again. Here we are with the handbook proposals for the high school. The changes that I included here for you, you can see that anything in bold is considered new. And I tried to cross out anything that is old, but I thought would be helpful to see, so you can kind of see the progression of changes. And it does go in progression in terms of the actual page numbering of the handbook. So first off, we have discrimination and harassment grievance procedures. That's one of those district-wide pieces that Jane mentioned. Ricky Shanklin is actually going to speak directly to that, so I'm actually going to just skip over that completely for now, and I'll address the other district-wide pieces as I go through my presentation. The academic support plan, this is something that we've refined over the years, and it's for those students that are struggling with coursework. Mainly, it's mainly homework, you know, the types of things that we're expecting them to do beyond the classroom, beyond the typical school day. And it starts to show in their grades. Sometimes we identify these students right from the get-go when they enter high school. Sometimes it takes the end of the 9th grade year or midway through 9th grade. We have juniors and seniors in this program. So this is our after-school program. I just made some changes here in terms of language. This plan was created in an attempt to ensure the academic success of all of our students. We don't, in the past, it was the old, you know, you pick up your progress reports in the guidance office on Friday afternoon. I mean, those days are over. With Google Drive now, everything's live. So parents and students actually get a live copy on a weekly basis of how the students in this program are performing. And currently that's facilitated by our academic support teacher, Mr. Billings. So that's why I wanted to update this, and you can see the cross out there in terms of how that has changed. There's no longer a punitive component to this program. What we require is parents to come in for an intake meeting when we deem that they are appropriate for this program. And at that intake program, we're expecting a full commitment where a contract is signed from students and parents that if students are not attending regularly, or, you know, we feel for whatever reason they're just not putting forth the effort with their schedule, and because at times, you know, they get involved with this activity or that one, this has to be a priority. And if we feel that that's not there, instead of making it punitive, we remove them from the program because we have other students that are deserving of the slots. Media Center usage, page 18.
Do you want us to ask questions as he goes along?
You can.
Yeah.
You have a
Would
question
you
on
rather have
academic
his question
support?
as you
Sure,
go along
yeah,
instead of
that's
going
probably
back?
easier, thanks.
Actually, a couple of questions, sorry. I know I've read this before, but the word many of our students have been identified kind of jumped out at me. Is that really true?
I mean, no, certainly we have an at-risk population. Several. I mean, what's several?
Several's more. It's more than several, though. I think it's.
I mean,
it's hard to find the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. It's more than a handful. I mean, certainly, you know, each year there's, I think especially at the underclassmen level, you know, is when you start to see. I think that's a tough transition year, the 9th grade year. and the numbers are certainly higher in the 9th grade. The idea is you wean them off. But there's a good amount of students that we identify over the course of a year.
Okay. Then the other question I had was if they're required to report to academic support on certain days and they're in extracurricular athletic activities, is that all part of the arrangement that you make, how that's handled?
Yeah, it is. And it's a great question. And I mentioned that, there are certain students that just aren't committed. We work with the extracurricular component, but there needs to be clear communication that you're going to go out to practice late. Perhaps it's a big game day and we're going to come up with an alternative time. But we make it work for most of those kids, and it depends. Most of those kids are not 3-sport athletes, so it depends on the time of year.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
And yep, same thing with any other activity.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions on academic support? Okay. The media center usage, page 18. We have addition here. When a student's study hall falls during lunch block, they must report to his or her study. That's been operational now for a couple of years. That should probably have been put in the handbook. It's just the lunch hour. We encourage students to pop into the library during their lunches. They'll actually go in. It's just a higher volume during that time period, so we don't actually have students scheduled with a lunch study they don't have the opportunity to actually sign up for the entire block because they're all popping in during their lunch and whatnot. The number 3 here is just more in terms of electronic devices and acceptable use. This language here does a better job of aligning it with our new, with all the technology that we've brought into the building. I mean, all media center computers, personal devices, these should be used appropriately in accordance with the school's acceptable use policies. We thought that did a much better job of addressing where we're at with, oh, there goes my pen, sorry, with the technology. Any questions on Media Center?
May I? Sorry. So I know other times when you've talked about technology and what happens when the acceptable use policy is violated, that you don't want to take the device away from the student because you're taking away their ability to access. You know what I'm.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yep.
So but they can have media center privileges taken away. Does that have the same effect, or?
No, if we take away the media center privileges, we'll still allow that student to check out, let's say, an iPad because they have a Chromebook, or vice versa.
But I guess is there a reason why preventing them from accessing the media center would interfere with their ability to access their education?
Yes. Occasionally we have students that are disruptive in the media center, and therefore we revoke their privileges.
No, that's not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
they still have access to their education.
Right, that's, yes.
The media center is a place that students can go to do study or research. Those can all be done, again.
Without being in the
especially
media
with
center.
With a device.
Without being in the media center.
It's just a matter of kind of the privilege of getting into the media center, which is seen as a
Right.
better
I was
place
trying to draw a parallel.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, even if we take away the media center privilege, if there's classes that utilize that facility, they still go down with their class. It's just the study pieces that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Bullying and harassment policy. We continue to make updates to this policy, not as extensive this year. This year, we're just updating adding Roman numeral 8, which is a problem resolution. This is more in terms of the target. And the target's family, they have the ability, if they're not satisfied with our investigation, to file a claim through the DESE. And this is basically how you go about that. So this is the protocol legally that we should be including within our district-wide bullying and harassment plan. There's really no wiggle room on that one.
So do we need to be looking at our policy and updating it to align with what you want to do, or are you in line?
Now we're fully in line with the law.
But we may not be in our district policy. We may need to go look at that and make a change.
This is the district policy. This is I'm sorry, I'm speaking for the district right now.
So we need to vote
We
to
have to
change
adopt
the
the
policy.
Yes, that's on our list to do that.
Yeah, I should have said,
Okay.
this is the
Okay.
district-wide bullying and harassment policy.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
think that's my last question, Kevin.
That's all right. Cheating and plagiarism. over the years, I've seen an increase with the science component with lab reports. This is an area that I've worked more so with Scott Gordon the last couple of years on. Let's make this as clear as we can be with students, parents, teachers, that ultimately, this sounds like the class we're taking now. Ultimately, you can work collaboratively on a document or on something, but ultimately, independently, when you hand in a lab report, it needs to be your own independent work. And I just want to spell that out within the cheating plagiarism policy. I know I've consulted with Ricky Shanklin at the middle school. I know that this is their expectation as well, that middle school science teachers tell the students that ultimately it's your own independent lab report that you're handing in to the teacher. So just want to make that as clear as can be, and that was not in the policy previously, although that was something that was communicated in all science classes. If a student gets jammed up with a first offense, they make a mistake, they get caught cheating, plagiarism, any incident involving academic integrity, I know at the high school we're of the philosophy of we're moving away from giving kids zeros, and it's one of those where, okay, you make a mistake, but you need to redo the work. You may not we don't expect that you're going to be able to get an A, you're probably going to get a 50. In fact, that is the policy. You can't get better than a 50. But we certainly want students the opportunity to redo the assignment as opposed to taking a 0, because a 0 is just carries a lot of weight when it comes down to the ultimate grade. So that's just this formative idea of having the ability to learn from your mistakes and actually redoing the work. So I wanted to put that in there. If you look at the National Honor Society bylaws, it clearly spells out that with character, if there is a cheating or plagiarism incident, that needs to be brought forth to the NHS organization. So although that was listed in our handbook under a second offense, that should really be listed under a first offense as well. So if a student comes across my desk that is either applying to be as a junior, applying to be a member of the National Honor Society, or perhaps they're already a member of the National Honor Society, that this has clear implications, and most likely you'd be removed from the National Honor Society if you had a cheating or a plagiarism incident. And that's where the recommendation comes from.
Kevin, do we have anything written in there for, I know it's if you copy or if you have someone else write it for you, what if you're the person writing for someone else or doing the work for someone else? Is that addressed anywhere?
Yes, it is. It's within the actual policy.
Okay.
It's spelled out actually explicitly. You're referring to the copying and or submitting anyone or all of someone else's work as your own?
Yep.
So that would be number 4. Is that what you're referring to, Jamie?
I'm just looking at the...
So
I think he's asking about if someone does the assignment for someone else, knowingly that it's going to be handed in.
Yes, that's what I'm referring
yeah,
to.
sorry, it's number 2.
Name.
Okay.
Submitting a paper or submitting a paper for someone else, is that?
It's for if someone else writes the paper for you, number 2.
What's the consequence of the person writing the paper that's going to be submitted under another person's name? I think that's the question, right?
Okay, so if it's actually going to be submitted under someone else's name, it's the same. We treat it the same, whether or not you did the work or someone else did the work. You still, that element of collaboration where you knowingly shared the work with someone else or vice versa, it's treated the same. Does that make sense?
I think the question might be, if I pay you to draft a paper for me and then I hand the paper in, what happens to you? So what happens to the principal?
So you pay me to turn the paper in?
No, I pay you to write the paper for me.
write the
then
paper?
Then you give it back to me written and I turn it into my teacher. I'm obviously guilty, but what happens to the person who...
Oh, so there's actually another layer to this. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. That's an interesting question. Yeah, no, certainly. I would put that under the same umbrella in the sense of whether it's a third party involvement or, in that sense, you're all guilty on some level in terms of academic integrity. So I would treat it the same. If
Do we need to spell that out in this, or is that?
I don't
Understand how the author would be held accountable. So going back to Tim's question.
accessory to the crime.
Yeah. Thank you. How is the person who's actually doing the work for the other student being held accountable?
well, you're sharing it.
Right, but how is
Knowingly.
what is so what is the
What's
what is the consequence for that?
Oh, all right. So it's first offense is extended detention, and second offense is a suspension.
It's treated the same as the person who's receiving.
Correct.
If you're involved in any way, it's not good.
Yeah. I thought I've seen it all. That's okay. That's good. All right. Any other questions on that?
I actually have a question just for clarity, because you said that you're moving away from the zeros, but the language says the student will still receive a 0 or an F for the work, even though they complete an alternative assignment. So is the idea that they complete an alternative assignment and get an additional grade for the assignment that they do in place of the assignment they cheated on, and then also have the 0, and that kind of compensates for a 0 being there? Or I just wanted a little clarity on that.
Yeah, so it's if they're going to redo the assignment, it's unlikely that you're going to see a 0. It's and/or you see and/or F here. It would be a failing grade. There's no passing opportunity with cheating or plagiarism, and I tell parents this all the time and kids. But certainly we want to give you the opportunity to redo it. So if they, depending on the amount of effort and time they put into the work and what the end product looks like, I mean, ultimately the highest grade they could really get is a 50 at that point. But what I say is that's a lot better than a 0, right? And it certainly shows that initiative on behalf of the student and the FaceTime with the teacher that they're willing to do the right thing.
Susie, I think to answer your question, if the student chooses not to do the makeup work, they would get a 0. You're not-
Okay,
You
gotcha.
wouldn't do the work and get a 0. If you did the work, you would get some grade.
Yeah,
in
highest
place of
F
the 0,
possible.
right.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that? All right, senior privileges. This is something we've thought about for quite a while now, and we wanted an incentive for seniors that are in good standing, academically, behaviorally, attendance, across the board in the sense of what we expect of, of our students when we think about our mission. And what this would mean is initially all seniors would be eligible, right? We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're all, at that point, we're assuming they're going to all be in good standing. If you probably happen about once a cycle based on the rotating schedule. For those seniors that, initially it's everyone, but for those seniors that are in good standing, that they'd have the opportunity, because they don't really have a privilege where they could come in late instead of attending their first period study hall, as long as they're on time for their second period class. There'd be a sign-out procedure through the office. This is something that we would track. It's the type of thing, if you're in the building, you're expected to be there. It's not, okay, a senior shows up and decides I'm going to go get coffee at 8:15. It's, okay, you know what, I have a study first period tomorrow. I'm in good standing. I'm going to come in a little bit late, and perhaps I'm going to get a little bit of work done at home. I have a device. I can and just come in a little bit later, or when I stop at Dunkin' Donuts, maybe I'll do my work at Dunkin' Donuts and then come to school. At the end of the quarter is when we'll take a look at the grades, and they'll need to be passing every class. And it's the students that are not passing their classes, they tend to fall into the other categories. It's most likely they're going to have attendance issues. It's most likely they're going to have some behavioral issues. But the expectation is that you're passing all classes. And I can, at any point during a quarter, I could certainly pull the privilege. It's a privilege. So if you feel their behavior is not up to speed, or and it's spelled out here, it's any student with 4 or more absences during the term. I mean, again, there's extenuating circumstances. I'll work with families on that. There's sometimes it's totally legitimate that you might be missing more than 4 days of school. Any student who is dismissed more than 4 times, any student who's tardy more than 4 times. It's the tardiness one that I really hope we see improvement there. Me and every other assistant principal in the state. It's one we struggle with. Any student with disciplinary issues, and any student who fails to just follow proper parking procedures and whatnot around the building. So it's an incentive. It's certainly, I think it'll be. I think the students will appreciate it, and I think they'll respond in kind.
I got one. At the end of last sentence in the second paragraph, Kevin, the one that starts with students who successfully pass. So this runs to the end of the quarter. Does that give you enough leeway to do, if you need to do a dramatic intervention, to yank the privilege? Does that give you enough leeway to do it if the student falls off significantly? Or are you kind of are you stuck with them, that privilege for the quarter? And does it matter?
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
Well, like I said, most likely they're going to be slipping up in other areas. It's just from a management standpoint with grades. I wish I had the opportunity to review them more regularly, but I want to be fair and I want to be consistent about it. And I think that if I'm going to do it the right way, it would be when report cards are issued. But like I said earlier, I mean, if a student's falling down halfway through the quarter, there's probably some other issues that are popping up there.
And I guess that if they're in the academic support program, they're probably not getting senior privileges.
Well, I would most likely. I mean, if you're not doing homework, I would think, yeah. I mean, it's probably, it's probably a correlation there.
It seems like the first sentence of the next paragraph takes care of it.
Right.
Or that there's no, or students are
Right.
not guaranteed to remain on privilege for the entire term.
Yeah, I mean, I love the word privilege. I mean, it works as an administrator. So,
What percentage of seniors have first period study hall throughout the year? You know, does
percentage-wise, I don't have an easy answer for you, but it's based on the rotating schedule on a given day. It'd be a very small percentage. I think we'd have to run the data on that. I don't.
Almost everyone has one.
at some point?
Yeah.
Schedule,
Right.
each person has maybe one per cycle.
Okay.
So, but it's not like all 150 seniors have that one day off. It won't work like that.
Gotcha.
It's spread out pretty evenly.
Okay.
And again, just to be clear too, we have an awful lot of those kids are in jazz band. They're doing things, they're gonna be in the building anyways, so it's not like it's gonna be used every single day, but like Kevin was saying, there's a privilege. We hear it from our seniors all the time, what do I get as a senior? Other than a handshake at the end of the year. So what can we give them to kind of give them some incentive to do the right thing and doing what they need to do? And again, so many of our students, whether it's student council, there's a number of before school meetings and things that are happening first period anyways. So it's not a matter of we're gonna have this mad rush of seniors, one day not being there. So.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot less than a lot of schools offer. I mean, we don't have a courtyard. We don't, there's not a lot of wiggle room for them. I mean, they joke that it's a prison. It's not a prison, but I think it's nice to give them a little bit, treat them like adults, young adults, and.
Kevin, how are you defining successfully pass?
That would be a 60%.
Okay. Thank you.
If a student comes in partway through first period, would they be expected to report to their study hall?
In that case, they'd be reporting to the cafeteria because that's where we place the seniors in study. So.
So there's they would know where they needed to be in the building.
Correct. Any other questions on that? Great, thank you. External suspension, with the laws changing, there's not it's not a lot of external suspension. We tend to use internal suspension more so these days. Obviously, we have a responsibility to make sure that they're still being educated. There's not much value in external suspension. Certainly, there's some certain offenses that we still use external suspension for. And if I ever felt there was a safety issue, I'm quick to turn to external suspension. So I just want to change the language here. We don't really, legally, we just can't do this anymore. The suspensions are excused absences. And students are entitled, they've always been entitled to make up the work, but I really want to spell that out here. We're taking the language from the new law that suspended students have the opportunity to earn credits, make up the schoolwork and whatnot during the period of suspension. And it's given them the opportunity. I mean, certainly there's a level of responsibility that they have to take here, and we encourage them to reach out to their teachers and whatnot. I just want to spell out, too, if you're suspended in school, even though you're in the school day during the suspension, you're not allowed to participate in any extracurricular activities. And I always make sure that the parents are there to pick them up at the close of school. Any questions on the updates there? I'm going to go into the laws a bit more now from a district-wide standpoint. Obviously, we've had a lot of changes with discipline. This is across the state. So there should be a separate attachment there. It says disciplinary procedures. So again, this is a district-wide document. I'm just spelling out some of the definitions here. I'm not going to go through every bit of it. I'm certainly, if you have questions, I'm happy to field that. But I think the important pieces here are the opportunity, starting with the out-of-school suspension piece of an oral and written notice. If it's an out-of-school suspension, also inviting the parents in and having the parents be part of that due process prior to any out-of-school suspension. If you turn the page, we go more into those suspensions that are more than 10 days. And these are just the rights that we afford to families. In the case of a suspension that would be longer than 10 days, and we spell those out here. I'll say this too is any suspension for more than 10 days, that would trigger what we refer to as a school-wide service plan. And that could be online learning, that could be tutoring, alternative placement, but that's this whole idea that we're not depriving the student of their education, that there's continual access to their education during the suspension period. Fortunately, we don't get too many of those, but it's important to include that language here. Page 3, the in-school suspension. This is the one that is used most often at the high school, where initially there's a student hearing. There is a parent meeting to review academic progress and to check in regarding the behavior and talk about what we need to do moving forward to make sure that the behavior is rectified and that the student hits the ground running when they return from their suspension. So that's the in-school suspension piece. This is just more procedural in terms of hearings. There is when I talk about I mentioned the external suspension piece, and I mentioned bringing the parents in as part of the due process meeting. There's an exception to that. If there's an emergency, we feel that there's a student's safety at risk, we exercise what we refer to as an emergency removal, where in that case we would just notify the parent to say your son or daughter has been suspended from school based on X, Y, and Z. And within 2 calendar days, we will have a meeting with that parent to address the situation. Sometimes you don't have the luxury to wait. The appeal process with the superintendent, it's spelled out here. And then disciplining students with disabilities. I think the key piece here is just when we reach that 10-day threshold with a special education student, that triggers a manifestation determination meeting. And that is spelled out here on what that process looks like. If we end up moving forward with a 45-day assessment protocol, that is spelled out here as well. 37H, 37H and a half, we're familiar with. Those laws have been on the books. But I think, that's drugs, alcohol, weapons, and whatnot. But I think the key here is the responsibility to continue educating all students regardless if they're found guilty under 37H, 37H and a half. It's just the responsibility of the district to continue providing education. The 37H and 3/4 is the new law, and what I've talked about today with in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, with the hearing, the due process rights, the oral and written notice, some of those procedures that are now in place, that's all under 37H and 3/4. Just about how procedurally we're handling discipline matters. And then the last provision here actually spells out the academic progress, the opportunity for academic progress, and it also spells out the educational service plan that I referenced earlier. So we want to make sure that we include that. And lastly, 51A, which is neglect, as mandated reporters. Occasionally when we have to go down the road of filing a 51A, what those procedures look like as well. So a lot of changes from a disciplinary standpoint. I think at the high school, we've been in pretty good shape just because of the in-school suspension. I think that's allowed us to continue to provide opportunities for students to access their education, check in with teachers, and without falling too far behind, and yet still holding them accountable.
Questions?
Go ahead.
Just logistically, that separate document on disciplinary procedures all becomes integrated into the handbook?
Correct. That would replace at the high school.
It would replace the
that would-
student due process.
Yeah, our existing due process section.
So does it go in its entirety, including the text of the laws, or does it just refer to the laws?
We have to actually, we're going to actually spell out those laws in the handbooks.
Okay, you're actually going to put the text of the law in the handbook. Okay. I just, from the way it was laid out, it just wasn't clear.
Yeah, the handbooks are going to get a lot bulkier. Fortunately, the high school handbook we just posted online. Yeah. Yep. Which means more pages, more money. So.
Okay.
Not related to discipline, but related to the conversation you and I had earlier about fields. Have we thought about putting policies for what is acceptable use of the fields? I know there's a lot of restrictions on what drinks can be on there, what footwear can be on there.
So, yeah, and so the conversation that Jamie and I had was regarding that, because the fields are new, and my feeling was that the fields sort of fall under everything else that we have at the high school. So in terms of we expect the same behavior on the fields, we expect the same behavior in the chorus room. If kids are on a field trip, if kids are on an extended trip with teachers, that we expect all of that. And also we have the MOU with the rec department saying who can use the fields when. And there's also signs at the fields saying what can and cannot be brought on the fields. But I would love to hear what other people feel about that.
I just feel like we've made a huge investment into these fields, and it's great that we have the MOU and everything else, but unless it's spelled out, and I saw, as I read through it, I see, there are restrictions on what can be brought into the media center. There are restrictions listed on, acceptable use for the gym and all of that. I personally think it would be prudent to add the fields to that. But
And Jamie, what specifically were you thinking? Are you thinking like vandalism, or what types of restrictions on the fields?
it's not even restrictions. It is
Or
just
law-
laying out
rules.
what can and can't. I know Gatorade can't be brought onto the field.
Yeah.
It'll destroy it.
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect, I can't get into when a Gatorade is brought out onto the field.
No,
if I put that in the handbook, anything I put in the handbook, I enforce, and it'd be impossible. It'd be truly impossible. I mean, the fields are an extension of what we do. Anything that's in our handbook, the behaviors the students know, they have to act in accordance with any other locker rooms, hallways. It's expected.
Is there signage that says what is and what is not allowed on the?
There is a sign right out, just as you're entering the stadium field, there is a sign, and I'm pretty sure,
And we've talked about getting additional signage on the field.
Right.
Because that's not,
So I guess
as a town, as a field that's used by the entire town, that's a big part of everybody's responsibility to use it appropriately. You know, all those kind of things, Jamie, to be honest, the same thing with our gym coaches, anybody that's involved in the athletic program or the gym class, and that's all part of the typical things that are gone over with them. But again, that signage would be up there.
I guess my question would be, so as youth sports people,
Yep.
we received a pretty detailed email last week about what was allowed on the fields and not. And Gatorade was not allowed on the field. And the coaches complied with it. They did not let the kids onto the field if they had a bottle of Gatorade. They had to have water. So I guess my question is, why is Gatorade not allowed on the fields? If it's damaging the fields, then it should be a policy that high school kids don't bring Gatorade onto the fields. I know they would be very hard to enforce at first, but if it's going to damage the fields, if a bottle of Gatorade falls over, then it shouldn't be there, right?
I mean,
Is that
have you heard that from coaches? I guess hopefully coaches are the first chain of command. I would hope that if you have, I have the confidence in the coaches to enforce that, you know, and certainly.
We can certainly address it, but again, it's not in our policy book, but we'd
The
be
athletic-
addressing it like any other.
Through the coaches.
Any coach, any team.
Right.
These are the expectations.
Well, we also have an athletic handbook
We also
where,
have an athletic handbook
which
that we
would
can- yeah.
put the onus more on the coaches than on you. To,
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to put something in there that I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I can enforce it. That's just not.
That would be more from the athletic.
Right.
right, well, and we've had discussions before with Steve Ralston and with you about putting things in the handbook that are unenforceable and the,
right?
the
Yeah, that
lack
makes
of wisdom of doing
But
that.
through captains and coaches is certainly
Great point.
something we can address.
Address it through
Yeah.
the athletic handbook and through other means,
Right.
rather than the actual student handbook. I think, but it's a great point. We can address it. It doesn't need to be in the student handbook.
Correct.
We have the athletic handbook, and again, that, with the athletic director and with our coaches, those coaches' meetings and everything that we go through with our student athletes, that'll be reinforced there.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay,
Thank you.
right, so, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
9 o'clock feels much later tonight.
I
than
know,
most nights.
I know, it really does.
Thank you for hanging in there.
You too.
Kevin did a lot of our work, but to be in accordance with the laws is, I think, what's driving most of these changes. So mine, I had identified mine by page numbers as well. So in addition to changes in the calendar and the bullying law, as well as the discipline, those are all the same as everybody else's. And I wanted to address I would be removing the civil rights policy, but replacing it with the discrimination and harassment grievance procedures. So quite similar to the bullying policy and how there was an addition of the problem resolution system. That's also a portion of why we had to rewrite the discrimination and harassment grievance procedures, because a huge part of that is mapping out what are the protocols for investigating and what are the rights of both parties, and what is going to be, how do you come up with an equitable resolution and address that. So it defines the civil rights, as did the old language that was in the handbook, and but it also maps out those procedures for prompt resolutions. So also, last year we had updated the bullying policy to include staff. That's one of the big pieces of this that was changed, that staff language is also included in that. So to just kind of go through that, I'm not going to go through it piece by piece, but the bigger piece is similar to the laws that Kevin had discussed. It goes through and maps out who you make a complaint to, if you wanted to also, speak with somebody at the Department of Education. That information is there. It gives specifics on the protocol for the formal investigation, such as how, the 15-day period that the investigation has to take place, the rights of the parties, privacy rights of both parties, written record of the investigation, which goes along with the discipline laws, where it's mandated that we give written notification that the investigation is being done, similar to when a student is being suspended. It's the same kind of ideas as that. The rights of both parties to call their own witnesses in the investigations. It maps it out a lot clearer than the previous policy did. It talks about making sure that a formal report is written and that formal report is on file, and it includes steps to what are you going to do to put a plan in place for the students after this is all resolved. And it talks about the appeal process as well to the superintendent and beyond. So I'm not sure if there are any questions about that, but
Man,
that pretty much is.
I just, using the word policy and using the word procedure, and I want to make sure that we're clear. This is a procedure, so we have a policy, our district policy is okay, or again, do we need to look at the
So I
district
know we're going to look
policy?
at it.
Yes.
That's one of the
Okay.
things we're going to look at, definitely. So what we did was we have part of this is the policy, but it's incorporating the procedures in order to follow through with the policy.
Okay.
So
So we need to make sure that what you have for policy matches what we have for
Right,
district
right.
policy. Then the procedures, how you apply the policy
correct.
is how you apply the policy.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And we know there's quite a few of those that we're going to take a look at
Okay.
and make sure that
Thank
we're in
you.
line. Yep. Anybody else? All right. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm representing the elementary schools. As it was Huckleberry Hill's turn to make the changes to the next year's handbook. Before I start, I'd like to thank Huckleberry Hill Secretary Linda LaGreca for making all the necessary changes and putting this document together for us tonight. The handbook has been updated to reflect the usual basic changes. The directory, table of contents, school calendar, term endings, report card, dates, etc. I would like to highlight two changes in particular. The school hours for next year. Summer Street will be the early school next year from 8:20 to 2:30. Huckleberry Hill will be the late school, starting school at 8:50 and ending at 3 o'clock. Early release times for Summer Street School next year will be 11:30, and Huckleberry Hill will be at noon. I would also like to talk quickly about the first days for kindergarten, which is a change for next year. Kindergarten will start the day after grades 1 through 4 begin on Tuesday. So kindergarten will start that Wednesday. It will be for 1 hour by appointment on that Wednesday. And then on Thursday, all kindergarten students will go for 3 hours. And then that Friday is also a half day. So they'll go for 1 hour on that Wednesday, 3 hours on Thursday, and 3 hours on Friday to begin the school year. And then on Monday, they'll be on their regular kindergarten schedule, and busing will be available for those kindergarten students on that second day as well. And our handbook will also be including those two policies that Kevin and Ricky spoke about this evening. So thank you for those presentations, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
As I read through it, just two questions. One is, and this is, I think, across the district, do we need to make MCAS more test agnostic, just since we don't know what direction standardized testing is going to be taking next year?
In terms of the verbiage in our handbooks? I mean, we can certainly just call it standardized testing instead of calling it MCAS, because that decision will not be made until the fall of next year. So, I mean, we could certainly do that.
The
I mean,
fall
it's just-
of,
This fall, in
fall of 2015.
yes, October, we'll be told whether we are using MCAS or Park.
Park seems to be losing steam.
It's losing a little bit of steam. Word on the street is we won't have a lot to worry about, but you didn't hear it from me. I don't have a problem leaving it as we have it now, until we get that definitively. Because as of right now, we would be choosing to use MCAS.
Okay.
As we did this year.
And then the other question is, do we need to add something to the elementary schools to reflect an internet policy since we're bringing wireless into all of the elementary schools?
Right now, we have the acceptable use policy in our handbooks. So we have that in our handbooks. I know that our, to answer your question, probably yes, down the line. Right now, we have our classroom teachers, our library media specialist, Connie Kruger, does a nice job of working with the students to make sure that they're using it responsibly, using the internet responsibly, and also when we're doing research projects, citing their sources and following those procedures properly. So they're learning at an early age about some of the points that Kevin was talking about. But I think as we become wireless and as the devices more and more are being used by the students, that it's probably something we need to revisit.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I will be presenting the changes to the preschool handbook. There are more changes than in past years to reflect the move of Linfield Preschool to Summer Street School for the 2015-16 school year. I won't go through every change, but I'll try to just highlight the major ones. So similar to Brian, as he stated, we have updates with logistical things like phone numbers with the central office moving to the current Linfield preschool location on Salem Street. Phone numbers are unknown at this point, so that's to be determined. We'll also be adding Summer Street school information, the phone number, and the address as a change. But we'll also include the special services office information, since there's a lot of special education eligibility and transition for the preschool level. So in terms of the dates, the dates for the preschool start dates have changed to reflect the new school year, as well as the visitation date. The preschool open house, this is a change we've started to think about some of the logistical changes that will need to occur. And in talking to Jen and Jane, we've talked about having the preschool open house be the same night as Summer Street School, but have an earlier start time so preschool parents can get over there early and then proceed to their elementary school open houses. Previously, on page 10, there was a former statement that had said that there would be no preschool classes on the screening dates. We've decided to continue, just based on past data of how many students that are coming in to be screened, that we would make arrangements to still have preschool in session on the screening days. We found that we don't have an overwhelming number of students coming in for screening, and that we can't actually have preschool that day, so we don't have to disrupt family schedules. So we've changed that line. There was a section in the preschool handbook that had talked about transportation. In looking ahead to the move to Summer Street next year, I thought that this was probably confusing to a lot of parents, since we're not offering busing to preschool families. We do, however, offer preschool students through the IEP process transportation if it's warranted, if the parents choose it. So I thought it wasn't necessary to be in the handbook. Typically, when a preschool student gets transportation, we're talking about that through the IEP process. So I had recommended removing that section to avoid confusion. Again, just going back to the Summer Street connection, we've talked about the day-to-day operations that the parents would call the Summer Street phone line, things like student absences, but anything related to special education, the eligibility process, screening, and registration, we'll get to that point, but that will be handled through the special services office. again, kind of once you start looking into these things, there were things I got a little bit picky about, but there was a communication statement on page 13 that I just felt was unnecessary. I thought it put some restrictions on parent communication as, you know, having to go through the teacher first before contacting a team chair or myself. But I want that communication to be open. Every situation's different. I didn't want to put restrictions around that communication, so I just suggested that it be removed. Again, just moving on to location changes, PREDS will now take place at Summer Street School. And then another big change was Linfield Preschool had historically been the only peanut-free school in town. Now with the move to Summer Street, it will be a peanut safe, as part of the peanut safe school, so that language will be changed to reflect that as well. And again, just a change in language. There was a special education statement in the prior handbook that I felt could be tweaked a little bit. It had information around a pre-referral process and trying to do other things before contacting a team chair. Again, I just didn't want to put restrictions around that. I think it's important that our office be open to working with families. We're often receiving most of our referrals from early intervention or through our screening process, so I felt it was unnecessary, and we could just clean that up a little bit. And then as the other principals had gone through, we changed the bullying and the civil rights sections as well. We don't include a disciplinary section for preschool students. We're pretty easy on them.
It's a good call, Kara. It's a good call.
Does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. It's a lot of work this year on that one.
Though I do feel like Kara every year says there will be more changes than usual this year.
She does say that.
Okay, well, thank you, guys. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Okay. So I have 3 things to report on tonight. The first one is an update on my entry plan, just my follow-up for what has been going on with that. So a little bit ago, I shared my findings with the committee, and since then, I have been very active sharing the findings with different groups of stakeholders. And I will tell you, the conversations have just been great in that it's really teased out some of the things that I had questions about and really confirmed a lot of the things that I thought were going really well and other things that we needed to work on. So I have met with one group of people, the PTO presidents. I met with them. We had a very in-depth conversation about mainly the 2 things that surprised me on the report that I shared with you, which were the fact that parents had reported that they thought that we could do a better job at differentiating instruction for math only, K to 12, and also the overwhelming report from parents that we were not meeting the diverse needs for students, which was in direct opposite of what the teachers had said. And so those were the 2 things from the report that surprised me, so I wanted to tease that out a little bit. So I met with the PTO presidents on that. I've met with Huckleberry Hill School Council. I went to a PTO meeting at the high school, PTO meeting at Huckleberry Hill, and a PTO meeting at Summer Street School. And I asked the question about, you know, what are your feelings on that? And it was really interesting. Hands down, people came back and said, we think that people didn't necessarily know what you meant by diverse needs. And so they started throwing all of these things out in terms of, did you mean the diverse social emotional needs? Did you mean the diverse academic needs? One parent said, oh, I thought you meant about diversity, not the diverse needs. So the conversations have been great on many levels. It has brought clarity to some of my thoughts, and it's also it's had an opportunity for me to be able to have face-to-face conversations with people about the findings. I sent the actual findings report out to each group before we had the meeting and asked them to read the report. People were brutally honest and said it was 29 pages. I really didn't read it, but please tell me about it. And other people did say that they, the data people who love the data, some people did comb through it. But what was most effective is the conversations that we had. So I'm continuing to do that, and I'm learning a lot about the data as I'm continuing to do it. So they've been extremely productive. Any questions or thoughts on that? Okay. So the other update I wanted to give you is periodically the high school has a visit from the dogs, from the state troopers and from Lynnfield Police Department, and it is an unexpected visit that takes place on one morning, and it's coordinated through Bob and Kevin coordinated through our police department and the state troopers, and I have never witnessed that before, and I had the opportunity to do that. It was the morning of April 9th. I will tell you, it's very intimidating to see these huge dogs, in my opinion, very ferocious dogs walking in the high school. And the good news is they are there, and they are looking for drugs. They are looking for substances that we do not allow in our high school. And once again, we had a clean sweep, so we were really happy about that. The high school goes into a lockdown, so wherever the students are, they have to stay. I happened to witness it in the media center and in the cafeteria. And an adult goes in ahead of time and says, "All the kids just get to that side of the room and leave your backpacks over here." The dogs never go near the children at all. They do the perimeter of the space that they're in, and they do the backpacks. They do the lockers in the hallways. So again, the best part of that is that we came out without any incidences. So that was good. Any thoughts on that? Okay. So the last thing that I want to tell you about is and the reason why I put this on here is because it is a change to what we had originally budgeted for in the budget coming up for 2015-2016 school year. And it falls underneath the line item of the adjustment counselor at the high school. So currently, we have a part-time adjustment counselor at the high school that is we use contracted services through SEAM for this person. That person is so it's basically a SEAM employee who comes in to work with our students. It is part-time. I believe she is there 3 days. As Kara and Tom and I were formulating the budget for next year, we knew two things. We knew that SEAM was going to be going up in their rates, so we adjusted for that, and we also knew that we were going to be needing more of this woman's time or this position due to some of the situations that we've had at the high school, because this person just simply was not getting it to everybody that she needed to see. So we put in the budget for next year a line item of $65,000 to cover that. The increase of her time and the increase of the projected increases from SEAM. And as Kara and Tom and I, we meet weekly to talk about the budget and talk about our resources. And as we sat down to really reflect upon how that has worked out this year and to really think about next year, we suddenly realized that for that ticket money of $65,000, we could get a full-time person who could be in our high school, who works for us, who is completely dedicated to our students and to our teachers and invested in our district solely. And in particular with some recent incidences that we've had, we are thinking that that would be a really good thing for us to do. So we would like to be able to change that position from a contractual person from SEAM and make that a full-time position for Lynnfield High School for approximately the same money that we already have budgeted for it. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on that.
What is the difference in, if this person is brought on full-time with benefits and everything else, what is the difference in cost going to be?
So that's a good question. So in terms of the salary, we feel confident that we could get somebody for that money that we have already allocated for that. the benefits is, that would be an additional cost of probably $10,000 for the town.
And how about qualifications, Jane?
So
Terms
we
of
would be
degrees or
looking
experience?
for, say that again?
Degrees or experience,
Right, so
background?
we would have to put together a job description, because it's not a school psychologist, it's not a behaviorist, it's somebody with the counseling background that would be working specifically with high school kids. And, you know, talking about it and talking about posting for it and getting a qualified person. One of the things that we have found out has worked out really well is getting professionals almost right out of college and having them mold to what our culture is here. And we feel confident that we would be able to do that.
So is this, just going back, and I know it's only $10,000.
Well, $10,000 is a lot.
But are we talking about now trying to vote for another, do we need
It's
to
not in our
vote?
budget.
I was gonna
Benefits aren't
say.
in our budget.
So,
So you already voted on the 65,000 for this position.
Mhm.
What I'm saying to you is I just want to change what the position looks like, so the money is still there. So I'm
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
so the benefits do not come out of our budget?
That's
Got it.
town.
Okay, that's what I didn't know.
And the finance committee, I believe, is aware that you're considering, or the,
Jack Dahlsted's going to be talking to his people about it, yes. Mhm.
I believe the way that Bill Gustus budgets in the past, that he, when he's figuring out sort of how to allocate benefits, he expects, you know, he allocates some to the schools with the expectation that there may be some expansion. So, at least that's what he used, whether he did it, whether Jim did it this year, I don't know. But
I believe that is still,
Yeah.
done. I
Tom-
mean,
Tom
that's
Gary
good
would know
practice.
because,
Tom Gary would know.
you know, Bill certainly let Tom know what he
That is
was,
right.
what he was doing.
So I think, so it really falls under what's in the best interest of kids and what's in the best interest for our kids at the high school. We've had some unexpected bumps in the road with some of our kids from a social emotional standpoint, and not having that full-time person there has not been in the best interest of our kids or our faculty, actually, because then what ends up happening is on the time that that person's not there, somebody's got to deal with it, right? So it's coming out of Kevin or, you know, guidance, but most of the time it's coming out of Kevin. So he's dropping everything that he's doing to deal with situations that really an adjustment counselor should be dealing with.
Jane, who does this person, what department would they fall under? Guidance?
They would fall into special
Admin?
education, not admin, special education. So, Tim, it would be, so what falls under special education is school psychologists, guidance, nurses, speech and language pathologists, OT, PT. And so it's a service for students. And so it would fall into special education.
So they'd answer to Kara.
They would answer to
Kevin.
Kara and Bob,
Kevin.
most likely, a primary and a secondary.
Mhm.
And remind me, we raised the budget for this position 20,000 this year?
I believe we had it as I believe it's $50,000, so we raised it 15.
15, okay.
So the
So-
bottom line stays, the bottom line stays the
Bottom
same.
line
It's
stays,
just-
right, and out of full disclosure, I just wanted to be, I didn't want you to turn around and see that as a new.
An FTE.
That is
without-
right. I did not want that to happen, so I just wanted to make you aware of that. Okay.
All right, excellent. Okay, so now we're on to matters for action.
Public participation.
Public, I'm sorry,
Participation, it's not
the
on there,
wrong
yeah.
thing. Public participation. Any public participation? Hearing none. Move on to matters for action. So the first is motion for the last day of school. And I think in the past, we've said barring any
Right, exactly.
unforeseen circumstances. So does anyone have a motion?
I don't have it up in front of me.
Move,
Oh,
barring any unforeseen circumstances, move to approve June 24th, 2015, which is a half day, as the last day of school.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, motion passes. And the next is regarding the pay-to-ride bus fee option that we have.
Move to keep the paid to ride bus fee at $100 per student with a cap of $200 per family.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And the school committee is going to go into executive session under the provisions of General Law C-30A 21-2 to discuss preparations for non-union personnel contracts, and we do not plan to come back into open session, but takes a roll call vote, so.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Thank you very much.